You've just been assigned a new project in Procore. The company admin created it from a template, so everything should be good to go, right? And that's where most teams stop. They get their project, they see the tools are active, and they get to work and start using it. But there's a gap between what the template gives you and what's actually ready to use. And that gap, it costs you time on every single project. So today, I'm going to show you how to close that gap with a repeatable process you can use on every project that hits your account. This is a 4-part series, and in this part 1 on dialing in your new Procore project. Before we get into the details, let's set the context. This video is for the project admin. You're the main power user at the project level in Procore. You might be a project manager, a project engineer, or whoever's responsible for making sure the project is set up properly for the team. Now, I'm assuming you have admin level access across all the tools in the project. If you don't, talk to your company admin about getting that level of access. You're going to need it for what we're going to cover. And speaking of your company admin, here's something most teams miss. If you find things during the setup that could be improved in the template, feed that back. If the company administrator updates the project template, every project created after that automatically benefits from that change. But one important note though, template changes are not retroactive. They will only affect new projects created from the template after that update. So the sooner you flag improvements, the better. All right, let's talk about what actually happens when a project gets created from a template. Your company administrator sets up and maintains the project templates. They configure the tools, the permissions, the default settings. When a new project is created from that template, a lot carries over. But not everything copies over the same way, and some things don't copy over at all. I'll put a link to a Procore support article in the description, and it breaks down what actually gets copied and what doesn't. I'd recommend bookmarking that one. It updates all the time. And one thing to keep in mind, Procore has extended the functionality of project template copying massively in the last 6 to 12 months. So if you haven't looked at this recently, now is a really good time, especially if you're a company administrator. So let's start with the project time. This is the very first thing your team sees when they open the project. In fact, it's the first thing that everyone sees when they open the project, whether they're on web or on mobile. You've got persistent project messages, and this is a great place to put key information that everyone on the project needs to see. Your project links, important dates, and your team panel are also really important. If you're using Procore scheduling or programming with an integration, you'll see the current scheduled dates and milestones here too. You'll also see project weather, provided you have a project address in the project. So take 5 minutes to set this up properly. It's the front door to your project. Make it useful. Now, let's get into the setup. This is where the real configuration happens. Project information. Your project dates, project type, project stage, square meterage, all of that important stuff is there. Make sure these are accurate before you feed them in because they pull into reports and dashboards across the project and company level. Active tools. This is where you toggle tools on and off. Not every project needs every tool, and not every Procore customer uses every tool. We generally recommend you leave this untouched because it should be dialed in from the project template. But if for whatever reason there is a tool you don't want to use on the project, or one that isn't normally used but you do want to use it, have a chat with your Procore admin to make sure you're aligned on company process and procedure. WBS, otherwise known as work breakdown structure, or most commonly called cost codes. This is where the cost codes, cost types, and subjobs live. Your financial structure is based on this. Your template should have brought these across, so review them. If for whatever reason they're not there, make sure you get them in and have a chat with your Procore admin. These should come in automatically, and this is especially important if you're using automated integrations with systems like Acumatica, Xero, or other ERP integrations. That cost code structure is the language that Procore speaks back and forth with those accounting systems. Other administration, and this catches everything else really, but important stuff. Working days, locations, classifications, webhooks if you're using integrations. Most people skip this section entirely, but there are settings here that affect how the tools behave across the project. Last thing before we wrap up part 1, we want to cover off reports. Now, your company admin can push company level reports down to the projects automatically. Open up your reports tool and see what's already there. Hopefully there's something to start with, but if not, you can build out your own. We'd recommend building project-specific reports for the things that you need to track on particular projects. This should include reports for your team and also external parties like clients and consultants. And a small tip here, you can set up reports and automate them to go out to external parties via email on a regular basis, and then turn off pesky overdue notifications and use these automated reports instead. It's a much better way to collaborate, especially with external stakeholders. Now, the reporting tool is powerful and project admins aren't using it enough at the project level. And make sure you give any feedback to your company administrator on reports that you'd like to see pushed automatically when new projects are created from the template. All right, so that's the foundation. Understanding your role, knowing what the template gives you, and getting your core project settings dialed in. In part 2, we're going to cover universal features and power settings. These are configurations that work the same way across virtually every tool in Procore. Things like custom views, tracking, notification, and privacy controls. Once you understand these patterns, you'll know exactly what to look for when we get into tool-specific setups in part 3 and 4. I'm putting together a Procore project setup checklist that covers off everything from this series. I'll have it as a link ready to download in part 4. If this was helpful, subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the series, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.